Hey y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller at Recruiting in Yoga Pants. So this week we're going to talk about number of applicants and what it means for you as a job seeker. Friends, it means absolutely nothing. This might be a very short video because basically I want you to just ignore this going forward. This is absolutely meaningless, useless, and false information that does absolutely nothing for your mental health. How's that? Okay, it's going to be longer than that because I'm going to explain why. So I'm specifically referring to LinkedIn data. If you look at an open role on LinkedIn, you will see a number of applicants next to it for the most part. And it might say, okay, this is maybe it's an account executive role for a healthcare company, and the role's been posted for 2 months, and it has 3,276 applicants. So a lot of people are going to look at that data and make a couple of immediate assumptions. You've got a shit ton of applicants, and it's been open for 2 months, and you haven't filled it yet. What's wrong with you? Both of those assumptions are wrong. A lot of job seekers fall into this trap. A lot of shady coaches and influencers who are just trying to manipulate you and tug at your emotional job search heartstrings there. They're going to use this information to try to mess with your head a little. So I want to clear up some mythology here. And some may be well-intentioned and just really don't understand the data. They don't understand why the data is wrong. I'm here to help. I'm going to explain why. So share this video with your favorite influencer. I'll send them a cape so they can be super mad. Okay. Let's start with the number of applicants. I've tested this multiple times, okay? I have the benefit of having an ATS login and being able to go and look at open roles that are my open roles. I can see the ones obviously for my company, and I can see that those numbers are never the same, ever, not one time. So for example, and it could go either way. It could be a way inflated number, which I'll get into, or it could be just a really low number because LinkedIn only tracks LinkedIn data. So for example, in my current role, I'm doing a lot of hourly assembly technician type of hiring. Those roles are posted on LinkedIn. I didn't ask them to be. I work for a very large company and everything just automatically gets pushed out to LinkedIn. That's fine. And a lot of those types of roles, my candidates, the people that I ultimately want to hire for these roles don't really have much of a LinkedIn presence, if at all. Many are not on LinkedIn at all, which makes sense. It's just not it's not the place they hang out, right? So LinkedIn might say, oh, Amy's job has 8 applicants. But then I look in my ATS and I have 112 applicants. No, literally, I just looked. Those are the numbers. Okay, for one of my roles. That doesn't check out. So you might be like, well, how the hell does that happen? Why is LinkedIn so wrong? Because LinkedIn only has access to LinkedIn data. If my role is posted on my career site, of course it is, I'm going to get people that come directly there. We've been using Indeed a lot for our hourly stuff. It's been a great resource for us. So people are applying through through Indeed. I have, people who are referred, of course, so their friends are putting them into the ATS, right? There's other ways that people can apply to a job. And if it's not through LinkedIn, LinkedIn doesn't know about it. So how is that an accurate count? Forget about who's got skin in the game or who wants what from you or who's trying to convince you of what. Don't worry about that. Take all the emotion out of this. Follow the logic. Do you believe that LinkedIn has access to Indeed applicant data? Do you think that's true? LinkedIn and Indeed are entirely different companies with different privacy rules and data retention rules and terms of service when you sign up for them. Do you really think Indeed is going, oh, hey, LinkedIn, 6 people applied to that role you posted? Of course they're not. I mean, again, I'm just asking you to follow the logic, okay? Forget about the emotion behind all of this, because I will get frustrated about this topic very quickly. Follow the logic. It doesn't check out that LinkedIn is going to have access to other third-party sites. Indeed's not giving LinkedIn permission. I'm not giving LinkedIn permission to share my shit elsewhere. They don't know. So right there, you have the risk of that number being too low. Well, that's not exactly helpful, is it? Because now I've just freaked you out and you see a job that says it only has 8 and in reality it has 112, and that's not a good thing. Oh, but my friends, there's another wrinkle here. Okay? For roles that have a large number of applicants, because I've seen this as well. I've seen one of my engineering roles have 1,200 applicants. And I think, there ain't no way. I looked at all the applicants on that rec. I know there wasn't 1,200. What happened there? And I'll go into my ATS and I'll see it's maybe closer to 300 or 400, right? Just depends on the role. So how does that happen? So for my roles, you get redirected to the careers page. Okay? So when you click on it, LinkedIn says, oh, there's one. And you go to the careers page and you may or may not complete an application. So if you do not complete the application and hit submit, you didn't really fully apply. But LinkedIn knows that you clicked through to the application, so they're recording that as an applicant. And if you don't believe me, I want you to test it yourself. Pause the video, go to LinkedIn, look up a bunch of jobs, find the jobs. Easy Apply, not so much. Easy Apply is clearly like, I'm submitting my LinkedIn stuff to this company. We'll talk about that in a future video. But for companies that you click through and have to go complete an application on a different site, click through, don't do the application, go back to the posting, hit refresh, see the number go up by 1. I've done this over and over and over again with a bunch of companies and a bunch of roles, and I've seen it happen every single time. So again, LinkedIn can only report back data that they have access to, which is the number of people who click and or the number of people who hit Easy Apply. We will discuss Easy Apply in a future video. I'm not going to get into it here. I've got a lot of thoughts on that as well. So what is a job seeker to do with this information? Number 1, you are going to stop stressing about the number of applicants because it is flawed data at best. It is not a real number, and you can't possibly know out of those 3,000 alleged applicants how many completed the application, and more importantly, how many are actually qualified. We've all heard from the Shoot Your Shot Brigade, okay? I promise you there are a majority of people applying to roles who are not qualified. Let me adjust that. There are a majority of people who are applying to roles who have not clearly illustrated on their resume that they're qualified. That's a better way to say that. I don't know if they're qualified or not. I can only make a judgment call based off of the data that they provide me. And if that data, LinkedIn profile, resume, whatever, does not clearly illustrate a fit, I have no choice but to say that person's not qualified and move on to the next. Now, this is more kind of general anecdotal data that I'm about to drop on you, but it has been vetted with hundreds of recruiters and my own personal lived experience, 25 years in the industry. On average, and this is across industries, levels, blue collar, white collar, big company, small company, geographies, doesn't matter. In general, we see anywhere from about 10 to 25% of applicants actually clearly illustrate their fit for the role that they're applying for. For very challenging, highly technical, high-level roles, it's usually a lower percentage. It's usually closer to about 5 to 10%. For some of those, maybe entry-level roles or like probably more early career roles, early career, mid-career roles, my hourly positions, things like that, I'm going to see that percentage increase because my expectations are obviously lower, right? If you worked in manufacturing environment for a year, cool, you're qualified, right? So we're going to see a higher percentage there. But generally speaking, it's anywhere from about 10 to 25%. So even if you're looking at a role and going, oh my God, there's 3,000 applicants, there's way too many, how am I ever going to compete? Understand that you're probably competing with about 750. If we use 25%, right? We're being really like overly generous here. So the takeaway this week, I want you first and foremost, don't worry about the number of applicants. It is not a real number and therefore not worth getting worked up about. Secondly, even if you want to take a stab at pretending some of that number is accurate, remember that there's a very small percentage that hopefully you're part of, which increases the odds that you'll actually get a call because you're qualified for the role. And finally, understand that most roles will get the bulk of their applicants in the first 72 hours, give or take. So there is an argument to be made for applying quickly. As soon as you see a role open up, go ahead and apply, be in that first wave of applicants, right? Because it's more likely you'll get shortlisted, get an opportunity to interview, hopefully get the job. However, if a role's been open for several weeks, or even a month or two, or 3 or 4 months, it's very possible that we've exhausted that early influx of candidates. We've contacted everybody that passed the initial, requirements. Maybe we interviewed folks that didn't pass for whatever reason. Maybe we had offers decline. I mean, any number of things could happen. But I've seen as we're getting into that second, third, fourth, fifth month of a role being open, that shifts dramatically to where we're no longer getting many applicants. We might get a few every now and again. A couple will trickle in overnight. But for the most part, we're now proactively going out and searching because we're just not finding, the people are not coming to us. So we have to proactively go out and search. So there's also a potential argument to be made for looking at some of those roles that have maybe been posted a little bit longer, and maybe they had a big number of applicants up front, didn't work out for whatever reason. You might now be able to come in the third month and be the ideal person they've been waiting for or been looking for. Just something to think about. I mean, there are so many variables. I can't guarantee any of these things are going to be true every single time. But over the years, I've seen this happen time and time and time again. And certainly often enough that I can definitively tell you with no hesitation or reservation, number of applicants is a flawed data point that you should absolutely ignore. It means nothing to you. Do not let it take up space in your head because it is meaningless when it comes to your job search. All right, I hope that helps. I hope that clears up a little bit of misconceptions. If you want to have more conversation around this and talk more about applicant flow and timing and all that good stuff, happy to keep the conversation going down below in the comments. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video on a specific area if you want. Let me know what you think, and we will see you next week.